Guy matters, and that's why the judge walked back his initial sentence of immediate jailing, because he knows that he needs to have Steele in that courtroom sitting next to Jeffrey Williams if any chance of this trial holding up on appeal. So I mean, the potential. There was even a moment when Miss Bumpus wanted to withdraw, and the judge is like, "Yo, you want Bumpus?" The judge, Bumpus is like, "Yo, we want to come up and approach," and the judge.
And in these cases, all they got to prove is that this organization was a criminal organization and that the persons or the people being convicted were a part of it. I'm pretty sure they could get a conviction. But this looks nasty. I've never seen it look this nasty. The feds are probably looking at this and say, especially the Southern District of New York, saying, we never play like that. No. Nothing goes on like this.
I followed a lot of these cases, Zach, for years. The outcry from criminal defense attorneys on social media. Bro, every single criminal defense lawyer with a cell phone is out there doing this, going, yo, what the fuck is happening in Georgia?
Yeah.
And so your sense that there's a possible mistrial, I think, is a good concept, a good prediction. And that your sense that, what could happen here is that after it's been 3 years in there, 4 years in there, maybe they just give him a deal. Why not?
Wow. I think currently he's been locked up, I believe, for 2 to 3.
Yeah, going on more than 2 years.
It's kind of sad. I mean, as we go into another case that you were also very in tune with, someone just told me we're approaching 2 years, I believe 2 years, on Tory's case. Like, he's been incarcerated. So the end of his case. He's been locked up, I believe, December 2022.
He's still got that appeal pending with the Quan affidavit.
But he's already serving his time technically, which, we just see some news pop up about his wife is getting divorced from him. I'm wondering what the latest is with Tory. I think there's a lot of motion going on with like his attorneys. He switched out attorneys. He got appeal attorneys, and these other attorneys are doing this. I'm wondering what's going on with that. And I'm wondering if it's even possible that he will, no matter how this ends, unless somehow an appellate court turns this over, will Tory Lanez be a citizen or allowed to stay in the United States? Because I recently spoke to his people. This whole time I'm thinking, Tory really ain't like an immigrant, right? Like, he's been in the United States, living in LA, living in Miami for years. Of course, he like got his citizenship. They're like, no, he's an immigrant. I'm like, what? What do you think about that case? You followed it closely. You were there in court for many days.
I said this before. When you watch that case, go back, watch all my videos, watch anybody's videos. And right up until the moment that the eyewitness testified on redirect, right? We had Meg testify, we had Kelsey testify, we had all these witnesses testify. We even had this eyewitness testify. I was in my bedroom window. I could see these people engaged in a fight. They were all in a big commotion. The gun went off. I thought the girl was closest to it. Tory was good. He had a case that he could win. He had a case where at least if you were a millionaire defendant, you would say, nah, I'm not taking that plea. I'm good. Let's keep letting it ride. We're on track here. And then on redirect, that eyewitness comes out and he says, it was the little guy and he was doing this. And when that happened, I wanted to make the video. I didn't understand how to manage it, but I wanted to make the video that was like, yo, red flag. That's a fucking problem when he said that. You need to do something about that. What do? You put Quan on the stand. You put Tory on the stand.
But didn't Quan show up like so late?
Doesn't matter. You have one job, which is to win. When that eyewitness on redirect, the state's last witness, that was it. The state was done. The state said, we rest. After that man said the little man was going like this. You've lost. It's over.
Why didn't... so one of the things I was thinking about that case, and I'm watching how Brian Steele is fighting. And I spoke to, salute to my man Bradford Cohen out of Florida. He spoke even about the YNW Melly case, and that ended the mistrial. He said, hey, he thinks that Melly's new team might actually get him off just because they're doing the right things. He said most of that trial is going to be fought before it's had.
Yeah.
You got to make sure certain shit do not get in that courtroom. And they're doing it now, but they didn't do it before. So when I think about the Tory case, I'm like, I remember just thinking, I'm like, yo, Kelsey gets up there and gives a testimony. How the fuck do y'all let the prosecutor say, all right, fuck her testimony, play this tape that we did when she wasn't sworn in front of a judge and in the court. Just play this tape of what she told us in our interrogation room. And it was like 80 minutes. How does that get played?
I think the judge let that tape play because the judge believed that there had been some level of witness tampering with Kelsey, and he saw Kelsey's testimony. He said, that shit just all made no sense, so you know what? I'm going to let them play the tape because I think the defense is dirty. I think that's why the judge let it play. But when that...
Isn't that the same as what's happening right now in the YSL case, where it's like, I think Judge Glanville is thinking, hey, you've been cooperating. You've been down to snitch this whole time. You've been down to snitch this whole time. Now you're acting like you don't want to snitch. You're really trying to save this guy. So I'm going to not legally follow the rules to exempt you from testifying. I'm just going to stand on the principle that if you can't get prosecuted, you're going to have to testify because you're getting tampered with.
I think what you're saying is that the judge is feeling like the defense is in the wrong.
Yes.
That they're fucking with this guy, so I'm going to do whatever I can to protect this
Yes.
guy. And I think the judge in the Tory case felt the exact same way, that the defense was fucking with Kelsey, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure the prosecution gets Kelsey's story out there. With Tory, when that witness on redirect did this and the prosecution said, we rest, and you're the defense, the ball is in your hand. You cannot punt. You cannot kneel. You got to take that ball to the house.
You're down by 7, and
you down by 6. You down by 7. You need a 2-point conversion.
Oh, okay.
All right, and what they Quan came in, right? Nobody has seen Quan in years. Like, Quan, where the fuck is Quan? He's the key witness. Quan is here.
Yeah.
He's in the hallway. Defense is like, yeah, we're gonna call Quan. The judge is like, I'll let you call Quan in 4 days. So for 4 days, Quan is going to get what? Hammered by the prosecution, right?
Yeah.
That was said in the YSL trial. And so the defense has to make a call. Hey, what are we going to do? We're going to wait 4 days, let the prosecution take...
By the way, Quan's the driver, if no one notices. Remember, there's 4 people party to this. There's actually 4 people. 3 are very intoxicated. Tory drunk, Kelsey drunk, Meg drunk. The only sober person is the driver, and the person who's sober never testifies.
So Quan comes in, he's on the stand, and the defense had a critical decision to make. Do we wait the time, let the prosecution take a run at Quan, or do we put him on or not and say, well, we don't need Quan's testimony? If you ask me, and I got a little scared to make the video at that moment in time because I didn't want to influence people's decision making. The answer was very easy. You have to put Quan on the stand because you're in a really bad spot.
Let me ask you a question, because I've heard Vlad say this a million times now. Everybody who watches Vlad TV interviews, he keeps saying this same thing. Dr. Tony Yayo says, yo, if you got to take the stand or like, yo, you don't go to trial if blah, 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 if whatever. If Quan isn't there and that happens, if you're the defense attorney, do you look at Tory and say, Tory, I know this was not in the cards, but we need you to go up there and try to hit a fucking home run.
Hell
We're
yeah.
sending the pitcher up there.
You're facing a potential 10-year sentence. You're facing potential deportation. The eyewitness just said it was the little man, and you have cards to play. You play the cards. You got to play the cards. You put Quan up, you put Tory up, and they tell it.
That's interesting. Because usually the saying is you never take the stand.
I mean, no. Listen, in that moment, when the eyewitness said what he said and the prosecution rested, it was incumbent on the defense to recognize that they needed to shore up their case. And the only way they could do that was Quan testifying, Tory testifying. On both, they said no. And if I was the lawyer today, with the benefit of hindsight, I would have made the video.
The benefit of hindsight is important.
The benefit of hindsight, I would have made the video. I knew in that moment. I didn't need hindsight in that moment. If I was the lawyer in that moment, I would tell you. As the content creator,
You were in that court.
I was in a room.
Okay, what's the feeling inside the room? Because I could imagine, I heard about just how people reacted to Meg testifying and Kelsey kind of stuttering and not really knowing what she remembered. And I've heard like the feeling of, I could imagine how people would just on a gallery looking at someone, how they would feel when you hear one of the last witnesses say, it was a short guy with the gun waving it around. Do you feel like the breath of the air was kind of sucked out the room like, yo, Tory, this ain't look good?
Yeah, it was sucked out of the room. And I'll take you through all the days. The first day or first day and a half, 2 days, Meg testified. This man was guilty as fuck at the end of Meg's testimony. Meg looked phenomenal, great witness. Like people are just stuck to her.
I'm glad you say that now because I'm mad at you now. Because I was not in the courtroom and we looked to you guys as eyes and ears. And when I listened to you, I heard a lot of hopefulness in terms of Tory's side. And that's why when the verdict came down, I was just like, how could I have heard that it was going this way? Then now I'm hearing it this way.
There was enough opened up on the Meg testimony that if other people came and said stuff, you would not find it. Meg didn't put him away, but based on just what Meg said and nobody else, you would vote guilty.
Okay.
Kelsey came in and said stuff.
So she did what she had to do. Good.
She did what she did. But if it was just her, you would say guilty.
Okay.
Kelsey came in and it kind of raised some questions. If you, at the end of the Kelsey testimony, you downright confused. You have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Can I ask you one question about that? I still don't know why Tory's defense team never brought up the allegations or I think Sean Kelly and maybe another witness maybe confirmed this, that Meg and Kelsey were fighting. And if you're trying to, if I'm the defense team, I'm going to paint a picture of, hey, if a gun my client never fired a gun, but if a gun did go off, let's think about the incidents that happened before. Tory was not just beating on one of these women before the gun went off. He didn't just grab a gun and run to them. There was a fight between two women. And if we kind of just be reasonable, it doesn't make any sense that two women are fighting and a guy jumps in and say, let me shoot one of you, right? I would be playing off that theory. So really going off, hey, they were both drunk. Women were fighting. There was a gun. Hey, as a defense attorney, you got to talk about your client. You just talk about what's going on. The women are fighting and a gun goes off. It doesn't make sense that the guy runs and gets the gun to shoot a woman. Why do they never really Kelsey doesn't acknowledge, at least from what I've seen, she doesn't acknowledge that she was fighting with Meg.
No,
Meg never says, I was fighting her, I was beating her up, or she was beating me up.
And that's why you had hope for Tory, because Meg does not acknowledge the fight. Kelsey does not acknowledge the fight. Robert Kelly says that I was in my bedroom window. They were right there. It was the two women fighting. So Kelly says that on the cross-examination of the defense, and all of a sudden, heaven's gates have opened up. It's there. It's right there for Tory to walk through. But on redirect, the prosecution gets him to then say that after he said that it was the two women fighting, the guy came to break it up, the gun went off, and it was the woman who was closest to the muzzle flash. He said that. It was beautiful for Tory.
Let me ask you a question. Was this all in the same day or did they break?
They broke after the cross. They come back on redirect, and the prosecutor gets him to say the piece about Tory waving in the arms. But at that moment, it was easy.
It's looking good.
Well, it wasn't looking good. At that moment, you're fucked. But if you're playing out the cards, right, as lawyers, we don't care about what happened.
It's enough reasonable doubt where, did Tory really do it?
What makes a good lawyer act is that you're in the middle of the fucking ocean.
What does that mean?
You're in the middle of the ocean, bro. You don't see nothing but water. And there's waves and God knows what in that water. But you know where the fucking shore is. And you know what to do to get to that shore. And even if I don't see it, even if there's stuff fucking me up, I know how to get to the shore. And so if you're a good lawyer, you gotta have that sense of how to get there. And that if you're not gonna make it, to just fucking smoke them all, right? That if I feel like I'm not going to make it, whatever I got on me, I'm going to let it burn because I'm not going to make it. It's the bottom of the ocean if I don't make it. So when Kelly did that, a good lawyer should have seen that we're going to drown. All right? And what do we
when
have?
he saw the redirect.
On the redirect,
Okay,
when he
okay.
did that, you got to see that I'm drowning right now. And so what do I have left to not drown? Because if I don't use whatever I have left, it's going to be at the bottom of the ocean with me. And what he had left was 2 potential testimonies. The testimony of Quan.
Did Quan already walk in?
Quan was there. Quan was their one and only witness.
Why did he show up?
He showed up because who cares why he showed up? He's there. He's your witness. He's your ace up your sleeve.
No, it's confusing though.
He showed up for Tory.
No, if I'm just think about it as a juror. If I know there's 4 people that we're talking about in this whole case, the prosecutor has told us, hey, the 4th person we can't find. We've tried to subpoena. We don't know where he's at. People have been talking about he's not in the country, this and third. We don't know where he's at, but we have interrogation footage from the guy and the other people here, and we believe it's Tory that did it. And all of them are going to take the stand except Tory because he's the defendant. And then this guy where you're like, well, I would love to hear from this guy. He doesn't. He shows up at the last day. If I'm a juror, I would feel like, oh, he was avoiding this.
The jury would not know any of that. The jury would just have seen Quan. The jury would have just seen Quan, but the defense made a strategic decision that they did not want the continuance. The state said, we haven't seen Quan. We've been looking for him. He just showed up this morning.
Oh, that's why he showed. Oh no, I thought he just showed up to watch. My bad. They showed up and they tried to bring him in.
That's right.
Yeah,
he showed
yeah.
up to testify.
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
prosecution said, hey, we need a continuance because we've never met this guy. We
Yeah,
have no idea
yeah,
what he's going
yeah.
to say. And that was the critical juncture in that case for the defense to say, all right, we'll give you the 4 days. And maybe they know stuff that we are not privy to and that you couldn't give them the 4 days. It was too risky, fine. But you need something, so you put Tory up there because sitting in that courtroom in that moment after the Kelly redirect, it should have been clear that you're not going to make it to the shore.
What's the body language of everybody in there? I know Meg wasn't there after her testimony, but apparently there were some Rock Nation people. There were a lot of heavily interested parties. What is the atmosphere? How tense is it? How is Tory looking? How is his attorneys looking? By the way, you know, as much as information I got, I was one of the people saying, hey, the prosecutors are amateurs. Like it looks like, you know, Kathy Ta and I forgot what the other guy name was. They don't know what's going on, and they won the case. How was their demeanor? What was the demeanor of everyone? I'm guessing.
Well, between the courtroom audience, I think the demeanor was very clearly interested parties who are obviously just for their side. So the Rock Nation people were there, and they were there for Meg, and Tory's peeps were there, and they were there for Tory. And then there was a bunch of reporters and members of the public. And all those people kind of broke into basically 2 factions, I believe, which is that, you know, in society today, we have people who ascribe to the concept of you believe women. If there's a woman who's the victim and she's alleging a man of doing something, that man did it. And I think a lot of the people in the audience were of that camp. And then there was another camp who's like, you know, nah, people don't do crimes. Right? It's like, nah, it's not. What are you talking about? There's
Or this don't make sense type shit.
Nah, not my guy. My guy never do that. and me, I'm just in there from the perspective of, you know, how are these lawyers going to present these facts to the jury, and are they going to do it in a way that's going to work? And to me, I saw that the prosecution was doing it in a way that was not working, and then they got it to work, and then it was on the defense. The ball was in the defense's court. They punted that shit. They said,
Wow. Let me ask you a few questions about that. And I also want to get to the Youngboy case. Okay.
free YB.
So with that, the Tory thing, did you and Tory ever have any like conversations? Because there was moments that before he was incarcerated, you know, I think he was playing it by ear, and you know, I think he was watching public discourse about his case, and then you became one of the people who was probably very. If you had came out of the courtroom and every time like, "Yo, Tory's fucked," it would have really heavily swayed the conversation. And
I wish I did. By the way, I wish I had.
You did.
Made 2 videos. I made a video about Quan testifying, and I made a video about Tory not testifying. I made those videos after the defense had made their call. Quan was in there. The defense made their call, and they said, we're not going to wait for the continuance. We're going to go forward without Quan. And I came out and I made a video explaining what the defense's thinking might have been. That video should have said the defense just fucked up. I didn't have the heart to call out a defense team in the middle of a trial while their client is sitting there and they're watching my comment. I didn't want to tell them to their face that they were fucking up. And that was a mistake as a content creator. I didn't want to interject myself. It had already been done. I didn't want the onus put on me to do it. With the benefit of hindsight, it's easy to say, like, yeah, y'all should have definitely done it. Same thing with Tory testifying. You know, they made the decision to have Tory not testify. I made a video explaining why you might not want him to testify. But, you know, in the bottom of my heart, I knew, I was like, oh, should have had him testify.
Hey, so this is, you know, obviously, Tory's my guy too. You know, I spoke to Tory maybe a couple of days ago, or no, maybe a week ago. But I will tell you this. You know, I'm one of the few people he spoke to initially when, you know, all this stuff started coming out, and you know, me and him, we used to talk very frequently, and for me, I wanted to know certain things, and I remember him telling me the story, and the story is exactly as how everybody knows it, except the part where the shot gets fired is omitted. It just jumps over like it never happened, and I remember thinking about it even today, and I'm like, because there's thoughts that Tory may have been protecting maybe Kelsey. Like, oh, Kelsey fired the shot. Yeah, maybe they were fighting the gun, but she fired the shot. But it's not in a rapper's nature. As, you know, I don't know if we really are still on the snitch stuff because it's just gonna sell out in Atlanta. But if we are, it's like, if you see Tory on stand saying, yo, I didn't fire the shot. Yo, Kelsey did it. Yeah, she, like, I was grabbing a gun from her. She was trying to grab for the trigger. I'm trying to hit her hand away. Like, we started tussling, and then she grabs the gun and tries to aim it at her. I hit the gun, and then she fires the bullet, it ricochets, and I guess that's how she got hit. Is that telling? Like, how do you feel about the narrative associated? Because usually with trials, obviously the OJ trial is a major one, right? Where for interested parties or fans, we want to see or find out the truth. But okay, now we know what happened. The Tory and Meg case, or Tory's case with Meg, I still don't know what the fuck happened.
Yo, when he gets out, he's going to drop the book, right? If I shot her. Just like OJ, right?
No, wait, hold on. But do you feel like you have a good grasp on, like, you sat there. Do you feel like, okay, this, with about 95% certainty, this is what happened? Because I don't think so. Like, because if the narrative of what the prosecutor is saying, I just can't understand it. Tory's a dude who, listen, he's a little dude who suffers from Napoleon complex. Like, he likes to fight. He's a little aggressive, this and third. But Tory will fight a 7-foot giant with his fist.
Are you talking about Meg?
No. I'm just saying, a guy, he'll fight anyone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying he's like, oh no, he's just a fighter. He's just not a punk. He's not scared.
He'll pick fights that maybe he should not be involved in.
Yeah, like, and I'm speaking about when men have challenged him. When men feel like they have had, I've heard stories about multiple men. Like there's a whole story that I don't know if people know. Drake low-key rapped about it. There's a story where apparently Drake and like a bunch of his goons at like a Coachella confront Tory, and Tory's not with that many people. And does Tory say, pew, I'm running? No. Tory stands there and goes to battle with Drake's goons. Now Drake's just chilling there like a mafia boss. But like he goes to whatever. And he's just not a punk, right? Obviously they passed it up later on. I mean, they're cool. But that's who Tory is. Tory, when the whole thing with Travis Scott happened, from how it was explained to me, he walked in, or he was in that trailer, and Travis Scott was in there with people that outnumbered Tory. So when Tory said that line, or, hey, are we apologizing, or are we squabbling, or whatever it was, he was basically seeing that, hey, this is my best chance to catch a fair one, because if they just jump on me, I'm going to get my ass whipped. He's not a scared guy. So I guess for me, I look at it and I'm like, if I know you're like that with other men, it's so hard for me to believe that Him and Meg get into it. A woman. I don't care how big she is. She'll be 8 foot tall. She a woman.
But they were drunk as hell.
I know they were drunk, but
They
still.
were fighting about the fact that Tory had relations with both of them.
But getting a gun, it seems so asinine.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how the gun came in.
And that's why I can't understand this entire thing, right? I guess I said all that to show why I can't understand it. You sat in the trial, you've heard so many different testimonies and so many different, like it painted a very vivid picture for you. Do you feel like you have a good understanding, whether you believe it or not, of what happened?
I feel like I have a good understanding that if that was me with somebody who, if I was in that car that night, I would have kept it in that car that night. And that would have been the end of it.
What does that mean?
That what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And look, when women are abused, they need to speak out the moment the abuse comes, right? You can't silence women and have them not talk. At the same time, when people are culpable, right? If I pick a fight with you, right? If I put my hands on you and it turns into a scuffle or an ordeal, I have an obligation to not go telling one-sided stories. If I get shot or hit really bad in the course of a fight and I tell the cops and I bring charges, I have an obligation to say that I was fighting too. And in this case, I just wonder whether the whole truth was told by all of the witnesses. And I did not feel, I absolutely did not feel that people were telling the absolute truth as they knew it. I felt like people were answering questions with an eye toward how they looked and not necessarily with an eye towards the truth. And I think that's a betrayal of human relationships.
Do you believe that? Because I could see a couple feminists watching this right now, and it's hard to y'all.
I've heard from y'all, and
you know what they're gonna say? Well, who cares if Meg was putting her hands on people? That doesn't warrant her to be shot. That doesn't warrant her to be abused, not by a man.
I would agree
that
with
is
that.
going to be the argument.
I would agree with that. But I heard Meg Thee Stallion say that she did no such thing, and I heard Robert Kelly say that the two women and a male were all involved in a violent fight. And neither Kelsey nor Megan acknowledged that, and I don't have any reason to believe that Robert Kelly was lying.
Yeah, very interesting situation. We'll see what happens on appeal. Tory's waiting for a whole bunch of stuff. He, just like I could imagine now, Jeffrey Williams believes that maybe the judge leans on the sides of the prosecutor because, they were asking that judge to recuse himself as well, and that judge declined, right? And clearly that's what happened in Young Thug's case. That Tory situation is just so crazy. I communicate with his people, and I see they're fighting for him, man. They're fighting for him. It's going to turn into a whole thing. We'll see how that turns out. By the way, I don't know if you are political, but we saw some explosive news that kind of came to light, which is literally a future possible presidential candidate. Well, he's a presidential candidate now. He's now a felon. Donald Trump got convicted on, I believe, 34 counts.
Every single one.
On every one, right?
Every one.
Convicted on counts of, see, the term of the charge is like weird because
Falsifying business records.
I didn't even know that was a felony.
Yo, you never heard of it. You would think that if they prosecute that charge the way they did Trump, you would have heard of a lot of people going down for that.
I would think that would be a fine. Oh, okay, you fucked up on this paperwork. You made this mistake. Yo, you got to pay $20,000. You got to pay whatever. This is supposedly, which I've never heard of, a Class E felony that I've heard that has never really been prosecuted. Now, here's the thing. The world is so political, right? I look at it for what it is. I'm like, listen, I never heard about people getting paperwork felonies for some business shit. But when I look at it on the surface, my boy just paid off his side chick. His little side hoe was ready to run her mouth. You know, he's basically saying, hey, listen, take this money, shut the fuck up. I'm going to be president. Obviously, she took the money for a while, and then later they realized, oh, maybe the way he gave her the money was like, you know, was not really proper, and they're coming at him for that. I don't really give two fucks, but you tell me what the hell is the big deal about this, or is this one of those things where like it's karma, where it's like if we can't catch you for the real bad shit you're doing, even if we catch you for nothing, you deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we take any billionaire.
Yeah.
And we put his entire life under a microscope. And then we start taking the people around that billionaire and we put their whole lives under a microscope. And then we charge the people in that billionaire's orbit with crimes. And then we tell them to tell us everything they know about everything we've been looking at with the microscope. You're going to find some dirt. Okay, now what did we find? We found out that a billionaire pays women that he's slept with to remain silent. Oh my God, America.
Yeah. I was like, if you can't pay a side chick off, it's like, yo, what's going on?
Well, if you're gonna sit there and be like, oh my God, like I just assume that that's what all these fucking people do. Like, I just assume that. And if we catch them doing it, I assume we'll penalize them if they did it in a way that cheats the tax code or whatever.
Yeah.
Never in a million years.
Never a felony.
Would I assume that you would catch 34 counts, that you would be on some fast track, rocket docket criminal trial where the shit goes to a jury in like record time. And that then, even though you have zero criminal history, you've never, ever been convicted of a goddamn thing in your life, people are seriously contemplating jailing you for that act. That is a perversion of our criminal justice system. And it speaks to the larger point that the way our system is set up, the actors within the system have tremendous discretion and influence into how the system operates. And the system is not foolproof. It is only as good, as infallible as the operators. And today, in America, where are the operators? Where are the Brian Steeles? Where are the people who act out of a sense of duty and conviction to a higher set of principles? Not how they feel that day, not which way the political winds are blowing. And if you tell me that the prosecutors in New York or the prosecutors in Delaware who put a microscope under Hunter Biden's life and decided to charge him with...
What do you think about that?
Bro, if
his shit look a little bit more serious. Look like he got caught with some crack pipes, a couple of guns.
Nah, he got charged with the Kodak charge. So
What's that?
Kodak got hit with... Kodak applied for a gun, and on the gun application, they asked you...
Oh, they ask you a million things. That little ATF form? Yeah. Oh, my God.
So
I filled it out. I filled it out 50 times.
Yeah, so Kodak had a series of convictions, and they asked you, have you ever been convicted of a felony? He said no, and so they charged him with it. Okay, now, the question in the Kodak case was, did he actually know whether his convictions qualify under the answer, right? Are we going to hold this man to criminal charges if he had a legitimate belief that he was answering the question correctly?
And by the way, on those forms, like I filled one out before, and sometimes it's one of those you got to check no. Like I've done one where I check no, and then at the end there's one you're supposed to check yes. It's like, hey, are you going to transfer this firearm to someone else who might not have a license? But I already checked a bunch of no's. I'm not reading all this shit. No. And then the person who works at like that licensed FFL is saying, hey, no, you sure this is what you want to answer? And then I'm like, oh, okay, I made a mistake, right? Now, that's a federal form, right? Like, if they submit it to the government with, like, my signature, it would be like, well, you've just now broken a federal crime, like a federal law. And that's what, you're right, Kodak went to jail for that. Is that what
So Hunter Biden is charged with applying for the firearm, getting the firearm as a revolver. He got it. So he has 3 charges. One is lying on the application. One is, I think, lying on an application that was then transmitted over federal wires or something. And then third is having illegal possession because he bought the gun, but based on a false application. So when he's possessing it, he's now possessing it illegally. That's what the 3 counts are. But here's my question to America. Is that what we're doing? We're prosecuting people who are who we believe that they were in the deep throes of a crack addiction. We believe this man was addicted to crack. A millionaire, the son of a senator, was addicted to crack. And when he was addicted to crack, what he did was he said on an application, hey, do you use any drugs, or are you a user of illegal drugs?
Oh, is that why? Oh, I thought he was a felon or something.
No, he wasn't a
Oh, yeah,
felon.
because one of the questions is, are you addicted to blah, 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 blah?
He's not a felon. He was not caught with crack. He was not drug tested for crack. He did not have crack and a gun on him. What they charged him with is that you knew you were a crack addict when you said no to that question. Which is like, bro, maybe he thought he wasn't a crack addict.
Yeah, like, y'all never seen a crackhead say, yo, I'm a crackhead.
Or even then, he's a fucking crackhead. You can like put him in rehab.
Yeah.
But how does that?
Yo, that's one of the most ridiculous questions on there, because you have to do this you're administering this self-awareness thing of you admitting you're admitting your addictions. And I'm not too big on knowing the process of addictions. But I think a lot of it is people not denying or not admitting they have an addiction.
Yeah, bro.
So that's criminalizing that now.
And I'm not saying crack is good. I'm not saying answering no on that application is good. I am questioning, though, when the resources of the federal government, when the resources of the United States Attorney's Office are just laser focused on bringing to justice that man. Because I ask the American public, how much energy should we be putting in to that dude getting a revolver and not disclosing that he uses crack? Is that like a safety issue for us? You guys worried about Hunter Biden murdering people? Or is the concern really that the operators of our system look at Hunter Biden and go, oh, is that a Biden? They going after Trump? We're going to go after a Biden. And where does that end? Where does that tit for tat bring you, America?
Oh, no. I definitely think we're in Hunger Game politics now.
That's it.
Which means, hey, listen, if you don't win, you dead. Like, you're going to jail.
Here's the scary part. You asked me this earlier. Mo, what was the end goal? Why are you making these videos? You making any money?
Yeah.
Why are we in Hunger Game politics? What's going on at the political level? How much money do people make based on what our politicians do? Because if there's not tremendous amount of money changing hands based on shifts in political winds, would anyone give a fuck? Y'all think this shit is about abortion? Y'all think this shit is about immigrants? Those are the things that they talk about to divide us. What this shit is about is that when one set of people is in power, there are groups that benefit financially. And so they press and they push to have their people there. And the rest of us, we're not even a part of it. We're just fucking accessories. We're window dressing on the real game that's going on, which is that the American government and American business are one and the same. And the greatest trick America ever pulled is convincing the world that we are anything but everybody else. Oh, Russia's some oligarchy. The Arabs are just a bunch of sheiks. The Chinese are just a bunch of fucking the Communist Party oppressing their people. Who are we? We're freedom. We're democracy. We're the place where we reward talent and merit and hard work. Or are we the place where when we feel, hey, this is not good for me, I'm going to use whatever power I can and put that person in a fucking hole because I don't give a fuck. It helps me.
Yeah, I definitely think that, well, for me, I have the same perspective, but I'm kind of indoctrinated to it in the sense of, I also believe that, most of the infighting we see just usually between Democrats, Republicans, and black, white, or, trans, gay, straight, is really, distractions for the real shit going on. I was born in Jamaica, right? And I was born in the countryside of Jamaica. I came up here right before 9/11. And politics, at least in the country I grew up in, it meant life or death. Like, I'm speaking as someone who my uncle almost got killed over talking politics in the town square because other people was like, hey, you're spreading the ideology of the other side. And what gets everybody fed here is that these people are in power. I grew up in a rural town in the countryside that we didn't have phone lines in our house. We had a public phone. The town to the left of us and the town to the right of us did. Why? We didn't vote for the the party that won. That's how they treated the ramifications of politics. When no one could think of that over here. Like, imagine the Republicans win and they're like, oh, that's a Democrat ran whatever. You get nothing. They get everything. So I've seen that, right? The resources, and like they would have these government contracts for fixing the road, and you have a bunch of poor people. Everybody wants them. We're only giving the contracts to the people who voted for us, right? So what do you get when that happens? You get people who get really heated and realize that this is life or death. Who we vote for, who we support, have to win. What does that turn into? Turns into what we're now seeing here. Maybe that didn't happen in the United States, but you know what's happening now? The people who didn't win, they don't get to be like, oh, okay, it was just good game.
That is happening now.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's happening now. You don't get to be like, okay, good election. We'll try again, come up with some new policies. You die, or you go to jail, or you go away. And the way that we could keep winning is that the people who try to keep winning, it's like a coup. Except you try to do it in a democratic format. If you didn't win the election, you go to jail. Yeah. If you didn't win the election, you're going to never be heard from again. You're going to be fighting legal battles forever. And I think that's what we're now seeing in America. I don't know if it's always existed, but it's very clear and blatant to the average regular Joe that I think before, even if they were doing that, they were a little bit more disguised. Like now it's like, wait, you're not even going to disguise the bullshit? You're just going to do it in plain air.
The emperor has no clothes. You can see them for what they are.
And also to your point, we had this thought of America being the best country in the world. I mean, I still think it is, but it makes us start having these questions of, are we that much different than other people?
You know what the difference is?
What?
In Jamaica, it actually made sense for y'all to participate in the politics because you had a direct voice. Mm-hmm. If you vote for the dude,
100%.
You're going to get that benefit.
100%.
Today, the American public has been excluded from the political games that are being played.
True.
Because we're not getting the rewards. We're not actually participating. The benefit of being affiliated with these parties, we don't even know. They don't even tell us. We can't even begin to comprehend the interests that are at play for these politicians. We're completely outside of it. For the massive American public, you're going to go to your job, you're going to work your 9 to 5, you're going to get Medicare, Medicaid, and you're going to just eat it and be happy, and that's your life. Okay, but there's actually a much bigger game being played. And there are people who directly benefit just the way those Jamaican people were benefiting when those wars were happening. But today, you can't even tell me who those people are who are benefiting. You guys, we won't even understand it because they don't tell us any of it. But just look at the size of our federal government. Look at the amount of money that we give out. Trillions of dollars in defense contracts. I'll tell you a quick story. You know why we entered World War I?
Tell me.
Look this up. Because for the longest, I grew up in Queens. I went to public school. And I believe that we will enter World War I because we were on the side of good. There was evil on one side and we were on the side of good. Well, one strand of thought, one argument, something that scholars will put out there, is that we entered World War I for a simple financial reason. The Allies were losing very badly. England is getting their butt handed to them. France is fucked. France has been run over. And England, France, and the Allies actually had borrowed a ton of money from us because we would send them weapons and they'd say, we'll pay you when we can pay you. And so they send a letter. This was sealed back then because there was the War Secrets Act and you couldn't actually tell this. But you can see it now, and a letter comes from Europe to the Americans that says, hey, we owe you about $6 billion. And if we lose this war, we will not pay you. And if the Germans win, I don't think they're going to cover our debts. So you need to get the fuck over here because it's in your interest. And that's why we went to it. I believe that's why we went to World War I. And that never changes. The idea that people are driven by financial incentives, especially when you have outsized financial incentives. I'm not going to give you $10 an hour or $100 for a day of your work. No. You get on this party, you're going to hit one bag you never have to work again a day in your life. How easy is it to buy your allegiance with unlimited fucking money?
Of course.
And so we enter World War I, we fucking send our boys out there. They get fucking blown off the face of the earth with some of our own weapons, by the way, because the Germans, first off, we sold to the Axis powers before we joined the war. So we joined the war years later.
We sold to the ops
We've been
before.
selling to both sides. So
Man.
when we get there, some of our own shit is being used against us. And that history just repeats itself over and over again, where people who stand to make tremendous money from decisions will make that decision. You know, I strongly believe that members of our military service, you know, if you're an armed service member, you should have an outsized influence and say in whether or not we go to war. Today, we go to war when fucking a couple people say we're going to war because it's not even a declaration of war. The war in Iraq, nobody declared that we're going to war. It's just like, yo, I'm going. Executive order, fucking bomb them. And it's scary, man, because if we continue to go down this road, this tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat, every day we're losing these opportunities to actually do the work. You know, nobody wants to do the work anymore these days. Everybody just wants to ride the gravy train. But we could do the work. We got people in our communities across this country that are looking for life, for joy, for celebration. And instead of focusing our efforts on being a country, a community that provides that, look at all of our discourse. Look at all of our us versus them arguments and polarization. It's a goddamn shame, and it's all built off of this concept that the United States of America makes a shit ton of fucking money, and that money trickles down to a few people. And those people wield the power to shape conversations. They wield the power to shape where our efforts are put. And they don't give a fuck about people. All they care about is more and more and more money. We just got out of COVID. One of the most dramatic, stark, craziest events of a lifetime. Nobody in this country is ready to process what happened. You can't talk about it. You can't even start to unpack how the fuck did we act like that? And what are we going to do the next time we have a challenge in this country?
I mean, you're absolutely right. Again, our democracy is definitely, and really just like the political structure that's at play in this country. We're starting to see shit that we didn't think was possible, right? You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I do think we're in the era of win or go to jail. It's not win or go home. Win or go to jail, right? It's like I'm pretty sure. Maybe the sentencing for Hunter Biden gets pushed back a little bit, right? Because there's going to be an election, just like, you know, they're saying they're going to sentence Trump, but we'll see what happened there. And maybe the only reason why they don't be like, no, he has to go to jail is because, you know, the RNC is going to be like, yo, he's a candidate. Like, you're going to look crazy. So they might push that back. But here's the thing. I think if Trump becomes president, he's going to, like, start nudging a few people, put Hunter Biden in fucking jail. And I think that if Biden basically gets another 4, his people are going to be like, listen, fuck Fonnie Willis and whatever she got going on over there. Look like she's not going to get the job done. We got to get him on the rate of the Mar-a-Lago stuff because, look, he had all this information just at his crib. We got him here. Let's get everything together. If we can't get him to jail, which that would be just so like that would be so crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, I'm watching the YSL case. I'm like, yo, Brian Steele is about to do as much time in jail as Gunna. Like, yo, this is crazy.
He'd have Secret Service in prison.
Yeah, but still,
the Secret Service would have to serve. They'd have shifts, and they'd be there with them.
Do you really want to live in a country like? And I think the people who hate Trump, because now we're on, you know, I think they call it maybe identity politics. Like, people that don't like Trump, they don't give a fuck why he got convicted. They're just saying fuck him. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Rather than say, yo, hold on now. If this is going on, me myself personally, whether it's Hunter Biden or Trump, if we're in a country where they're so quick to throw a former highly elected official in jail because maybe it might help the other party or whatever the case is, or they have access to grind, what chance do I stand? You know what I mean? What chance do you stand if Trump is getting treated like that? I usually thought, look at the police officers. When they do something wrong, they just kind of be like, yo, turn your body cam off and let's just try to smooth this shit over. We can't have you getting fired. What the fuck? Now it's like, but, and I'm not opposed to everyone getting the same treatment, but expedited trials. Let's prosecute a felony that people usually don't prosecute. It's a little concerning to me.
The big concern to me is the opportunity cost. That while we spend all this time at each other's political necks, and while these people spend all this time on their vendettas, what they're not doing. We have the opportunity in America today, as the only people with access to the semiconductor chips that we have the opportunity to create a whole new world that provides for our people, that solves so many of society's problems. And essentially, what government has done on that front is, we're not going to do anything. We're just gonna let the rich people invest in a couple tech companies, and we'll let the CEOs of those tech companies do whatever the hell they want, because we all got money, we got kids, we got vacation homes. I got fucking amazing dinner plans tonight. If y'all are having a tough time in your life, that's on you. Go figure that shit out. Goodbye. And that's the world we live in today. And until there is, a significant, organic, people-powered movement where people actually just say that, even though this isn't going to change my now or my week or my month or my year or my 5 years or my 10 years, I'm still going to take an interest in it. And I'm still going to dedicate some time into things that are shaping the world that we live in, because I don't think the world is hopeless, and I don't think my life is just the popcorn that I eat and the air that I breathe. I think I'm a part of a fabric of society, and I want it to look a certain way. And unless there's just a massive, massive, massive change, because the tide is clear. People are caring less and less. People are ready to slap fucking Vision Pros on their hand, accept all the fucking...
strolling.
Bro, I'll accept this permission, that permission, that permission. I'll pay that fee. I'm good. We got fucking 42% THC, the Casamigos. I'm good. I'm good. And that's getting deeper. Unless somehow that changes, look, I hope we're good. I hope you're good. Because...
Yeah. The last question I do want to ask you, and I'm asking you, you could deal with it however. I guess more of a prediction and also a reaction to Diddy. Man, if you had told me maybe a year ago that Diddy could ever be in this situation, not saying any man's above the law or not saying any man is, infallible, but to see the things that has happened and how quickly his empire has essentially fallen, and to see now he's at the place and at the juncture of coming up to, he's facing a federal indictment that could possibly put him away for life. It's just kind of shocking, man.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, so far we just have a raid. Put aside all his civil lawsuits. We have lots of lawsuits. I don't know that those are ever going to stop.
It's working.
I think
Everything's good.
Pay a lot of people a lot of money.
I think he's going to hit the bankruptcy button at a point.
I think he's got a lot of money, though. I mean, Cassie got 30. I don't think anybody's going to get as much as her. He's probably got 100, 125 laying around to pay him out.
Maybe other people. Historically, even Harvey Weinstein and them guys, right? What's the other guy?
Did he got a lot of money? Diageo paid him. Also, none of his problems seem to have started until the Diageo shit left. So I don't know.
I'm wondering if there was maybe some inside tipster that probably was, maybe they're paying off some guy from the government, be like, hey, listen, some shit's coming down the pipeline. Get rid of this dude.
They paid him $1 billion over about a 9-year period, and they were going to have to keep paying, and now they're off the hook.
But they were only really upset, or not upset. They challenged the budgets that he requires. Not like so here's the thing. He's having a great relationship with them. He's having such a great relationship with them. They get new relationships. So he's on with Ciroc. This is the deal I hear he has with Ciroc. Hey, you're getting paid as a endorser, an ambassador, which might be, hey, this is a set amount. He says, I want more skin in the game. They look at him and be like, yo, you'll never own Diageo. You'll never get a percentage. This is what we'll do, though. We'll make you a partner on flavors of Ciroc that you bring to market. So you'll get a percentage of the sales of those flavors. He said, all right, let's do it. And also you're the face of it, right? So you're pretty much responsible for all the marketing. They give them all the money. This happens for years. So all those flavors of Ciroc you see, that's because they did that deal with Diddy. Diddy gets a part of everyone he brought to market. They're all good. They're down with just throwing in the marketing money. Who knows what he does with it? He's shake that, bad boy, take this, yo, Ciroc, pour it in everybody's throat, act bad. Nobody has a problem with it. A year and a half ago or 2 years ago, they're like, he asked for the budget for the next fiscal year. They're like, no, I think we want to go a lot less. He's like, what? The fuck are you doing? Like, then also he brings DeLeon. He brings DeLeon, and he says, all right, well, I own DeLeon, or I own half of it. It's like, hey, let's make this a new Ciroc. And their relationship changes drastically. They don't really fuck with him as much anymore. Now, we could just say maybe he's just biting off more than he could chew. He was always, like, put like this. I'm pretty sure Adidas at a certain point with Kanye was just like, buddy, you think you're too important. Get the fuck on out of here, right? Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe they were like, hey, this guy's made you guys. If they paid him $1 billion, they probably made a couple billion from him, right?
I think they probably make 10, 50 times.
So maybe they were like, hey, they got a tip to say, this guy is not going to be good for all the marketing greatness he's done for you. Start cutting budgets, definitely. Get out of there. They got out at the right fucking time, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. Look, he's gonna. I think he'll pay off any civil settlements. I think he'll have the money for that. And then the question becomes: is he going to catch a federal charge? The raid was done by HSI.
I thought this was about Young Thug.
It was the feds, but Homeland Security Investigations was there. Anytime HSI gets involved, you're talking sex trafficking.
And Southern District of New York, they brought down Casanova, 6ix9ine, all the guys.
But HSI specifically is an agency that you when you see them, you can usually bet your bottom dollar that this is going to be a sex trafficking type of situation because it involves movement across state lines. Whether they found evidence, it's been a while since we've seen the raid. Could he get charged with sex trafficking because maybe he had minors or other women being moved across state lines or out of the country? We'll see. Charge hasn't come yet. Listen, you know how that shit works. They'll talk to you if you have information to give up. They won't charge you. They can continue that conversation. I don't know what's going to happen with Diddy, man. I do think that he'll survive all the civil lawsuits because he has enough money to pay them all off. And, what I've said on my page, and maybe this is me just kind of wishful thinking because Diddy was the producer of every fucking song that I ever listened to growing up. I mean, I grew up in Queens, New York in the 90s. Like, Puff Daddy was that dude. Like, when No Way Out dropped, like, I know every word to every song on that album by heart. So I'd like to think that whatever he was, his violence towards his spouse, where he beat his wife just in a way that I could not.
Or beat his girlfriends. He never got married.
I could never imagine like a man would do that to a woman, especially not a man. I can't imagine that. It takes everything off the table, Like, well, what can you not do? Really, like, what are your limits? Do you have any limits? It doesn't seem like you have any limits, man. She had her hood on. He did a closed fist pop to the back of her head.
Yeah, no, that was definitely just violent, just like really disgusting.
I can't put nothing past you at that point.
Well, okay. I think everyone, especially after seeing that video, knows his behavior is vile, disgusting. He probably done much more, but do we think he's going to jail? Because that would be, I think when people saw R. Kelly going to jail, they're like, whoa. But they were like, well, that's not the R. Kelly of the, that's not R. Kelly at the peak, right? Like, that's not R. Kelly, that's the guy. Whether you want to think about Michael Jackson or not, there was conversation about, well, kids or whatever the case is, and he didn't go to jail, right? No. But Diddy would be probably the most high-profile person ever in hip-hop history if he ever goes to jail. And, I mean, obviously, that would be tantamount to, like, Bill Cosby.
Right.
Right?
I mean, the only thing that could potentially save Diddy is if that HSI investigation, if that raid was motivated entirely upon some of the allegations we've seen in the civil lawsuits. So in the Little Rod lawsuit, you'll remember Little Rod's lawyer filed a lawsuit against a lot of people, filed a lawsuit against Lucian Grange, Universal Music. By the time Lucian Grange's lawyers were done with that lawsuit, you know, the lawyer for Little Rod was writing letters to the court basically apologizing for naming Lucian and saying he's trying to run it back. He's like, oh, my bad.
Lucian's the guy.
I drop all these charges.
Lucian's the guy.
Well, Lucian's lawyers made a mockery of that complaint, and they said this is complete fucking bullshit. This is not how you can file lawsuits. I should have never been named. The law is just not adding up. The allegations are not adding up.
Well, I think you know that particular lawyer and Lil Rod himself probably got a real taste of you're flying too close to the sun. Diddy is super high. Lucian Grange is the music industry.
No, but Grange, the reason why Grange gets out of that lawsuit and the reason why the lawyer had to walk it back and really kind of go hat in hand and, you know, ask the court for forgiveness is because they were on legally just not good ground. The complaint as it was written did not create did not create enough allegations, even if true, to hold Lucian accountable. And then there was huge questions about they were just complete fabrications in there where they were saying that Lucian had been to these parties when there was just never ever happened. And so my point is that it is certainly possible that the investigation by the federal government was motivated entirely upon allegations that have been made in civil lawsuits. And if that were the case, there is some hope that Diddy can escape charges because we have now a record that a lot of these allegations in these civil lawsuits are kind of far-flung and out of the question.
I think Cassie's a star witness. I'm wondering.
I heard that from Bradford Cohen. He's a smart guy, and Brad's comment, his point was that when you look at the timing of when the Cassie tape got released, it was released right after the raid, right? And so who had the tape? The feds had it. And so how does the tape get released? Well, one way is there's a federal agent or employee or maybe a janitor. Somebody gets their hand on a tape, they sell it for money. Mm-hmm. But Brad Cohen, the lawyer for Kodak Black and many other celebrities and a brilliant criminal mind, his theory was that Cassie's going to be the star witness. And that if Cassie's going to be the star witness, well, Cassie was also maybe involved in bringing
She's the Ghislaine Maxwell, and again, in further cementing the fact that rather than a co-conspirator or unindicted co-conspirator, she's actually just only a victim. Right. Because, I mean, she probably is going to be an unindicted co-conspirator. I mean, if she recruited, hey, I want all the black dudes in the area with 13-inch penises. Like, yo, you procure these motherfuckers for the freak off. You know what I mean? Now, again, under duress, not against your wishes. That's why you show, hey, look how I was being treated when I didn't do what this motherfucker wants, right?
Now, I thought that the release of the video could be something else. I thought the release of the video might be that the feds raided him. They don't have any charges. They kind of look bad for doing all that and then not charging him. So you release that video and you're like, look, he's a fucking monster.
Well, a grand jury is supposedly being convened. Here's the thing, and I don't have a horse in the race, but I think if they do this, Diddy's fucked. And I'm gonna go down this train of thought. If we're to believe what you said, maybe they had the idea or was motivated by some of these civil lawsuits, but some of these civil lawsuits, especially filed by even Lil Rod's lawyer, they paint what's a RICO organization that is basically sex trafficking. Now, with that, it's always important to find the money. Even in the Tekashi case, they had mad instances of drugs being sold, and it wasn't necessarily like they cared about the drugs. It was just like this was an enterprise that somehow had a way of making money, right? If that becomes a situation where they attack, a racketeering angle, even for sex trafficking with Diddy, and I know you say he has a lot of money. I agree as well, and he could pay off whoever he wants to. However, if that becomes part of the subject of this investigation or the indictment, where maybe he's not privy to just have hundreds of millions of dollars at his disposal, it kind of brings back the whole situation when they went after, guy in Queens, Preem, when they felt like he was getting bankrolled by Murder Inc. And they said, all right, cool, we ran into Murder Inc. and we make sure that they're not going to be bankrolling you anymore. You have to face us as a regular human, not as the guy with hundreds of millions that could silence people and really maybe taint the process. If they do that and cripple Diddy's financial possibilities, I think this might look really sticky for Diddy.
Oh, don't get me wrong. He's in big fucking trouble. And there probably is a federal grand jury, and he's probably going to have to try to, give up information to lower his charges. I don't know. But certainly
I've heard
there's
some
a
things.
lot of smoke around that man.
I've heard some things. I've heard that Diddy has a team of 20 plus lawyers. He has 10 plus investigators, private investigators, who are as much as if you post something, they're looking into it. Like he has the very best of the very best working on debunking every single thing said, even on social media, that say the feds were probably trying to either look into or add to their case, that they're trying to work with the feds here to be like, hey, listen, this is bullshit. Before you guys look into it, we have an innocent guy who's getting, railroaded by not only money hungry people, but by a narrative that, isn't going. A lot of people have drummed up this narrative because they're jealous of his success. If that works, I don't know. But I think Cassie, they've compelled her to testify. And if she get up there and start singing, he settled with her mad quick, man. She got $30 million.
No, he settled with her too late. That case was bought under the New York State Adult Victim Survivors Act. It basically said that if you were the victim of a sexual assault that happened many years ago and the statute of limitations has expired, we're going to open up a window when you can now file that lawsuit. And so Cassie and her lawyers filed the lawsuit on essentially the last day or the last couple of days that they had. And that's not because it's not because Cassie hired her lawyers on the last day. It's because her lawyers had for months been negotiating with Puff's
Probably
team,
saying, give us this
saying,
bread.
hey, we're going to go public. Give us the money.
Let me ask you, they ask you for $30 million. We're suing you.
If I'm Diddy, think about it. If there's been
30 M's?
Bro, if they've been pushing on you for months and saying, hey, settle, are we going to go public?
30 M's?
Bro, if they're pushing on you, settle, or I'm going public, and then they go public.
I don't think he ever thought it would be as big as this is. Like, for example,
That's right.
Look at Kanye West. Like, Kanye West just got hit with some shit. Here's the thing, though. Even though there's some crazy shit in there, like Kanye is talking about a 5
Yeah,
something.
I got to read that one, but I'm
Here's the thing, though. Everyone's like, it's yay. I mean, it doesn't show a serial pattern of him like doing wild shit. It shows him being a super freaky guy.
Yeah.
That, maybe he thought they were comfortable with it, but they weren't. So, like, really, this isn't going to just kill his reputation. And also, it's Kanye. Like, Kanye be getting very different privileges. He just survived somehow going at the Jewish people. So, Kanye is a little bit different. Diddy?
he did not survive, but
He's still out here putting out albums.
nah, bro, he didn't survive that album. What was the Vultures?
Vultures, yeah.
The 2 drop?
Not yet,
No.
but it's coming, supposedly.
Why not? And Vultures 1.
It was struggling
Did
to
it
find
really do what it should have done?
It went number 1, though.
It went number 1, but did it do what it should have done? It was a pretty hard album.
No. If he was not in the mode he was in right now, of course, it would do way more. Of course, yeah. He's not at his peak, but like I think when people think canceled, is that I think you don't think that he'll still be number 1, even if it's at a lower number 1 or a lower amount for number 1. You expect him to be like, yeah, motherfucker, you tried to drop an album, you sold 300 copies, and he's kind of fighting it. Like, you know what I mean? Other guys, shit, I think people just get out of the way or just bow down.
He started talking about wanting to do porn. When I heard that, I was like, man, this dude not making enough money for music. He's still chasing that.
He too freaky, man. Like, if you read his lawsuit, he is freaky. Like, he was saying some stuff. He said his penis is racist.
Allegations, ladies and gentlemen.
No, well, that's in the complaint. He said, he said, I hate racist people and my penis is racist. That's why I beat it all the time, and I want you to beat it. I was like, it's crazy. Okay, all right. So Diddy, we're saying grave trouble. There's lawsuits popping up everywhere.
Everywhere.
People believe.
Yo, if you're trying to sue Diddy, holla.
No. Would you take a case like that?
If you're trying to sue a billionaire for sexual assault, I will be there with bells on in a hot minute.
You not offend these people? I imagine. Okay, you meet with someone they're telling you a BS story. Like you kind of look into it. Like for example,
Can I prove it in court? Because that's all that matters.
So Bradford Cohen, he said this about Lil Rod. He said he's done civil suits, but he's really particular. He's like, this is the difference between Lil Rod's lawyer and like Cassie's lawyer. Like Cassie's lawyer probably got offered everything that Lil Rod's lawyer got offered, but pick the ones that are gonna be the sniper, right? Because you just don't want to be filing lawsuits just to file them. You wanna be the guy who, all right, Diddy settles in a day. Which, by the way, he's now representing a new woman going to get the dream. And let me see.
All right, y'all. What's going on, y'all? I'm feeling better today.
This is crazy. Oh,
so we're gonna be doing a stream. Not bad if I haven't got to a stream, but I've been busy. I've been playing this game and been fucking stressed the hell out, but I'm feeling better today, so we back.
I've just got a feeling about you. You have a story to tell. Welcome to SSNN, where the news never sleeps. If you're part of the David Barron fan club, try not to inflate his ego too much. He's liable to burst.
I'm just waiting for my friend. I mean, bring me some Henny, and then I'm gonna come back, and then we can get to streaming. But let's play some game.
Sounds like you know him personally. Let's take a look at you. You're not from around here. My guess is you work really work for a living. I bet you have a story or two. I have a feeling about such things.
Hello? Alright, I'm coming.
Tommy did something useful? So you must be the captain of the Frontier? Rumor is there was a firefight at a mining installation. I'm interested only in primary sources. So things you've seen and or done that are newsworthy. No hearsay. So, what do you got for me? Looks like some Crimson Brainiac figured out it's easier to hit stationary targets than dogfighting in the field. And you are an eyewitness with the courtesy to find us instead of being chased down. Refreshing. So what were the pirates doing there? It's not their usual MO.
Tell them about the ore. That was quite a lucrative operation.
Bad blood between the fabled Constellation and the Crimson Fleet? Has all the markings of what we in the SSNN call a story. So what's your role in all this? Part of a tour group? Huh. I didn't realize Argos Extractors hired such a capable crew. So we've covered the basics. How about any harrowing tales of daring do? How'd a bunch of miners triumph? Huh. Sounds like a good outfit. The heroic miner is a good angle. This is a good local story. Plucky miners band together and punch above their weight. If you ever get more stories like this, drop by. And take this to cover any incidentals or other creative ways to pad out any expense report.
Shall return. Hold on. I would just leave it on, but I don't really leave the stream on while I'm not on stream, but let me save this shit.